All right, back at the garden here, just 2 to 3 weeks after we planted it. There's a lot of things that are going really well, a few things that are going not so well. Let's just walk through it and see what's going on. So as you can see, the borage here is coming up pretty well, no problem with that. The beans are coming up quite well and getting larger, but you can see that we have a bit of a problem here. Specifically, they're being eaten. You can see the entire stalks are being bitten straight off. So that's some larger animal, possibly a deer. I can't think of anything else that would be able to reach up as high as this. So I'm going to have to spray a little bit of cayenne pepper on that or something like that to try to get them away. The greens are coming up. That's arugula. You can see I chose a variety that's got little red veins down the center. It just kind of makes it look cool. Peppers are pretty stagnant. They take a little while to establish, and I probably should throw some nitrogen on that, some fertilizer to get that going. But the tomatoes are getting big very quickly. You can see I put Genovese basil between them, and so that's coming up. Disadvantage of doing it directly from seed is that you get you can sometimes get these big clusters of them like that, and then big open areas in between where there's none of them. So then you have to thin them out, and it's a little bit uneven. But like I said in the last video, I just don't have access to a greenhouse here or something to start them from you know, in pots inside or something like that. And you can see a hard line here where it's unweeded right starting here. So I've been chipping away at that just like 10 minutes a day, and I can usually get 3 or 4 feet, and that should be done soon enough. So the tomatoes are big enough. You can see they're kind of flopping over here, kind of not being able to hold themselves upright. So I'm gonna string those up. There's lots of ways to do that. I'm just gonna put some stakes up and use some twine in between them. I'll show the finished product there once I'm done with that. And yeah, this is in need of weeding in a bad way, but you can see the little red stemmed seedlings in there are the beets coming up. I've actually thinned those out because, like I again mentioned in the last video, they tend to come up in dense clusters, since each seed is actually a fruit that has several seeds all bound together, so you need to kind of thin those out so they don't crowd each other out. And you can see the little stringy things in between the weeds here. Maybe I'll get another shot of this once I actually have it weeded. It's a little hard to see, but those are green onions that we have coming up. And then there's the fennel just coming up in the back here with little feathery leaves. Finally, one last problem. We have our blackcurrant bush appears to not be doing so well. It looks like it has some sort of disease and is dying, unfortunately. So I might need to return that plant back to the store. It started growing fungus on the leaves pretty much right when I planted it. Now there was another row of beans that I planted back there, and they pretty much entirely failed to come up. One plant came up and promptly died, so apparently those seeds were something was wrong with those as well. So I just planted another row of this same variety up here. So sometimes you gotta just accommodate a crop failure like that, and that's actually an advantage to growing a whole bunch of different things like this at once, rather than just a whole bunch of one thing. Because if you have like a catastrophic failure of one crop, then you're not completely out. So I've just strung up the tomatoes. You can see I try to get the branches up in there so that I support it as well as I can. It needs to be stable, but not so tight that you're constricting it. Now here, this bed is weeded. You can see pretty much just the beets are left here. They might need a little bit of thinning yet as time goes by. And the little scallions over here, as well as just a little bit of fennel that we have growing in the back. You can see the feathery leaves already starting to come out. All right, I kind of got things fertilized and watered and weeded. One last thing here, the marjoram that I planted from seed wasn't coming up, and I finally managed to find a plant to put in the ground. But as you can see, it's kind of overgrown at this point. It's got like flowers coming out of it. It's a little bit yellow because it was getting bigger than its pot allowed. So before we leave here, I'm actually just going to take this and we'll do it bit by bit here to about 1/3 of its original size, just so that it kind of gets a fresh start there and isn't trying to maintain a bunch of old growth. Could use this in a soup or something if we wanted. I actually don't have a use for it right now, unfortunately, but it'll grow back pretty quickly. So that is that. 3 Saturdays in here. I just put another, say, hour and a half into it, and you know, like I say, just chipping away at it about 10-15 minutes a day. You mostly keep the weeds down, and then you can kind of make up the difference on the weekends. In addition, I Got fertilizer on there. I replanted a few things, like the beans that weren't coming up. I put like a cayenne and mint oil spray on the beans that were getting eaten, probably by a rabbit or a deer or something, and hopefully that'll keep it off of those. And yeah, it's looking great. There's a few herbs already ready to harvest, and we're starting to get tiny little tomatoes on the cherry tomatoes. Within another week or two, we should be getting more than just the herbs ready to go. And yeah, I'll probably make another video in a week or two, just sort of showing how things are progressing. So thanks for watching. Hope to catch you again soon.